Hey, it's Bill Simmons letting you know that we are covering The White Lotus on the Prestige TV podcast and the Ringer TV YouTube channel every Sunday night this season with Mallory Rubin and Joanna Robinson.
Also on Wednesdays, Rob Mahoney and I will be sort of diving deep into theories and listener questions. So you can watch that on the Ringer YouTube channel and also on the Spotify app.
Subscribe to the Prestige podcast feed. Subscribe to the Ringer TV YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can also watch these podcasts on Spotify. White Lotus, let's go.
All right, at least I don't do crystal meth in the bathroom all night long.
That's my opinion!
He will never emotionally fulfill you.
Because I don't want to be a part of it.
Go to sleep! Go to sleep!
Close your legs to married men, trash box.
I'll tell you how I'm doing. Not well, bitch.
Who gonna check me, boo?
Welcome to Morally Corrupt, emphasis on the tea, a show here on the Ringer reality feed where we break down all the news, gossip, the latest and greatest when it comes to everything that's happening in our Bravo universe. I am Rachel Lindsay. She is Chelsea Stark-Jones. And you guys, today is the first day that we are on video platform.
Yes, we are on the Spotify platform. So if you are in Spotify, you could see the video, and that's really cool.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, not that I've upped it that much today, but I thought that we were video on platform Friday, and I had this whole spiel apologizing about how I am so sorry. This is our first day. Like, my hair was going like north, south, east, west, and making up its own directions in between. It was so bad. And then Olivia was like, it starts next week. So I'm not sure I'm that much better, but at least some things are contained. But happy that we can add another element to Ringer reality.
I told you before, I love this look. This
The
is
moo-moo.
like cozy chic. Yes. It's giving elevated Tom Schwartz with the moo-moo.
Not Tom Schwartz, not the shade. She said she was being nice, and then she threw that at me.
No,
it's cold here in LA.
Yeah,
You, on the other hand, look cute. You're matching. Your colors are very much so neutral based, matching the tone of our space here. I gotta
Yeah.
step it up. Like, this is ridiculous.
Rachel, I was in like leggings and a sweatshirt the last time we did this, so it's always a mixed
You
bag.
look good.
Thank you.
You look good. At least
Thank
one
you.
of us came to play. One of us came to play well. One of us came to play in the mud. All right. So news of the week. Not a whole lot going on. I feel like maybe because it's Oscars week. Maybe because we're about to have this transition. New shows coming in. New shows coming out. Not sure. People are kind of quiet in the Bravo sphere.
Yeah, which means we're gonna get a big bang
It's
eventually.
coming.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Yes.
I mean, I will say though, what's interesting is, I would say, I'm going to make up a number, but 10 years ago,
Okay.
celebrities were mum on whether or not they watched reality TV.
Mhm.
Reality TV was kind of looked at as beneath them. They were above it because they do, work that requires talent,
Yes.
not necessarily being a little messy or showing the messiness of your personal life. And secretly, they were all watching. And, shout out to the people who are on Bravo who continue to put out great work. I mean, I know they're showing their lives, but still being vulnerable, putting themselves out there. And shout out to Watch What Happens Live.
Yes.
That continues to bring out A-listers and everybody that follows and expose people or make people feel like they're in a safe place to be able to express that they too are like us.
Yes. And they know all the dirty details. Like John
Yeah.
Hamm was on it recently, just giving
Oh, John Hamm.
all of his takes on Salt Lake, Beverly Hills. Like, so it makes us feel better. Not that we ever thought that Bravo was trash
No.
TV to begin with. We don't think that. But like it validates it.
Yes, we've said
It's a
this
stamp
before.
on approval.
The smartest people in the world watch this. There's so many different themes and I don't know, whatever topics that can challenge thought, make you think of things in a certain way, whether it's the characters or situations that come on the show. There's a lot going on here. So, tell a friend, use this clip to let them know, like, we're all doing it.
Yes.
And you're not above us. And below deck doesn't count. I've said that multiple times. If you don't watch reality TV, all you're doing is a disservice to yourself and you're missing out.
Yeah.
And that's our PSA. That's it.
Yes.
And I say all that to say Ben Stiller took time while he was doing his not Oscar run, but just while he was doing the carpet on the Oscars talking about movies, Severance, the artistry of the industry. He took time to weigh in on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills drama. And for that, we say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a whole thing. Like, he didn't just say, like, hey, I'm watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. He said, and I quote, it just felt to me like they're both going through this separation. He's saying that in reference to Kyle and Dorit.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so why couldn't they be there to support each other? I'm not totally caught up on 2 episodes because I watched with my daughter and we haven't been watching together. Again, bravo, bringing families together. It used to be food and conversation that brings us together as families. That still exists, but so does Bravo. He goes on to say, but they came together in the last episode I saw, and I was like, all right, great. This is the way it should be because they should be there for each other. Chelsea, your thoughts on what he had to say? Do you agree with his take on Kyle and Dorit? And were you shocked to see that Ben Stiller watches Bravo shows?
Okay, so 2 things. I 100% agree with what he had to say. Like, Dorit and Kyle should have been like this from the beginning because Kyle or Mauricio and PK are like this and doing the boys' trips around Mykonos. Like, that should have been Kyle and Dorit given single girls energy, given Second Wives Club. Like, that's what this should have been. So 100%. And it was nice. I guess it was the 4th of July party when they were up in Dorit's room and having that conversation was really heartfelt. And like, that's how this entire season should have been. Second thing, like, also give Ben Stiller Dad of the Year award, like choosing a show to watch with your daughter, like, and not like skip ahead. Like they watch it together.
Yeah.
Like, he said he's a couple episodes behind because he hasn't watched it with his daughter. Like, that is the cutest thing ever.
It is.
And I love that it's a Bravo show. And yeah, so I just think it's great all around. It's great for Bravo fans. It's a great example of what a good dad should be. And I'm here for it.
I totally agree with everything that you have to say. And I hope that Ben Stiller's honesty gives other people the opportunity to say they too watch and let us know how they watch it. I don't know if I want Kyle and Dorit on the same page.
I don't believe it's good for conflict.
Right. It went too far.
It did.
So it's good that they dialed it back. But I don't believe it. I believe where it is right now. They're not in too deep. Like you said, that conversation was really vulnerable. It made sense. And it really was. They've been fighting so much. I forgot. You're both going through the same thing. So maybe if we just keep it in that space, they trauma bond over this divorce and separation that they're going through and don't give us anything else. I won't believe it.
I won't believe it either. And like, again, we said a couple weeks ago, I don't think the friendship is in a good place right now anyways, because they're rewatching the show. So, I think we'll get some of that on the reunion. And Andy posted on his Instagram story 5 diamonds for this reunion that they filmed, I think Friday or Saturday, and that he thinks there's something for everybody. So we also got, did you see Garcelle's Instagram story?
No.
She posted, and everyone's like I don't know, just trying to figure out who she's talking about.
Is this what triggered Anna Marie?
I don't know but see, people don't know if it's about Anna Marie or about Bose.
Well, she definitely took it upon herself
to make it about her. Yeah. So Garcelle posted, I think, a black screen, wrote, not all skin folk are kinfolk. And it was after the reunion. So people are wondering if it's about Bose or about Anne Marie because she's been going on a press tour recently. And I don't know, like it bothers me because, again, I do like similar in the same vein of, what was it, Naneka and Wendy on Potomac. Like, I wish those women would have found a way to like get together and be a good force. Like, the conflict between Dorit and I don't even want to say it's conflict, but between Bose and Garcelle, like, it seems like they're missing each other. And it seems like it's because the women just have an issue with Bose being friendly towards Dorit. Like, I don't understand what the root of the thing is there.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I haven't been like, oh my gosh, Bose and Garcelle are at each other. I just think that Garcelle hates the way that Bose, blindly supports Dorit. But then, as Erica, I believe, pointed out, you can't see that you've been doing that thing for Sutton.
Yeah.
But that's always the case, right? That's humanity. You can't see it in yourself. I hope she's talking about Anna Marie because it absolutely applies for the MAGA darling that she has turned into. But And maybe that was always there covertly, but she sure is using it to her advantage because it's made her have TV appearances that she wasn't having, and it's allowed her to also go up in a social media following, all things that the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills did not give her that she was expecting. So what do you do when that's your ultimate goal? You pivot. You pivot. And it's working for her right now, if that's the ultimate goal. That's my Anna Marie.
I was curious.
That's my rant
I've
on
been
that.
seeing stuff and I was like,
It's
I
working for
wonder-
her. I know, because a lot of
wonder
people, I
what
get tagged in stuff and they're like,
Rachel-
I wonder what Rachel thinks about 8.5. And I'm like,
Not 8.5.
yeah, I get tagged in a lot of that on social media. And I've always been like that. Like, people have always gotten on to me for being there for Anna Marie. And the reason that I was is because I see her off camera and I believe she has a good heart. I see her with her family. She was very supportive to me during the divorce. So for me, I'm not going to play into the ideas and perceptions people have of her based off of the show, which she did not come across well. I've even told her that.
Yeah.
But I knew who she was outside of that. Now, this behavior I can't subscribe to, and I do feel like, and I did write under one of her posts, okay, this is what you're hanging your hat on, but do you support all of Trump's other issues, to which she did not directly respond to? She threw the friendship thing in of why I was coming at her in that way.
Wait, she responded to that comment?
Yeah.
Oh, I need
that
to go back.
that like, why are you doing this so publicly? We could have done this on a phone call. She's not wrong. And then went on to say that I continued to work for a network that was horrible for her, meaning that I do some hosting at times, very sporadically, for Bravo. But I'm like, girlfriend, you wanted to be on a second season. So it could not have been that bad, because if they had told you we want you, you would have said yes. So help me understand that. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But again, it also doesn't make sense to be supporting Trump for all the things that he's doing, yet she is. But I believe that the purpose is for the attention and the fame, which, congrats, you're getting that.
Good for her.
Good for her. That is my rant on that. All right, speaking of rants, I want to get into Venita, because on Friday's podcast, I had a whole thing when we started talking about Southern Charm about how I feel about what I saw from Venita.
Yeah.
I also, and Venita, thank God. So I'm sure, as I predicted, the backlash must have been really bad, because it looked bad. It looked, I said desperate. I said it looked goofy, all these things. It's really hard, and I'm going to get into the depths of it, though, because I know people will say, well, Rachel, you're on reality TV. You know that it's not always shown the way. That necessarily wasn't, sometimes that was my experience, but very, very little. I felt like you got to know who I was. It's impossible to do a podcast and assume, well, maybe this, and give space to, well, maybe it didn't happen quite this way. We have to talk about things the way that they are directly in front of us. Should a cast member say, hey, I'm going to come out and tell you how it really went down because it's so distorted, like in this situation, then we can talk about it in that way. I'm curious, though, when you watched it initially, was that even a thought for you? Like, surely this wouldn't go down this way.
Oh, no. When I saw it, I was like, Venita, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, after we saw her jump in the pool the way that she did, we have to, like, it's not far-fetched.
Yeah, I was like,
bad decisions.
And just the whole way she was standing up for JT throughout it, I was like, this man just told you he had a girlfriend, and you are like acting as if everything is cool. And so I was like so confused by her behavior and thought she was being very much like a pick-me in the moment. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I am so grateful for her clarifying it, in part too, because I did think, and I feel like I said this on the pod, I was surprised at how soon JT revealed he had a girlfriend on the show, because I saw a big part of his backlash and like not wanting to continue with Southern Charm was because of the fact that he hid his girlfriend for the entire season. So I was confused when it first came out that he had a girlfriend. I was like, oh, like it wasn't the whole season, because like we're only on episode 5 and he's telling us this. But then for Venita to clarify the timeline of things, it made more sense to me. And it also just like, as a Bravo viewer, like we're pretty savvy, I think. It's crazy to think that producers would shift the timeline that drastically to make it appear as if she is a homewrecker.
Yep.
Like that to me is at least be linear. If it, especially if it affects how people perceive
Yeah.
a certain person or whatever. Like them being linear in the situation, it doesn't take away or add anything from this. So it just, I didn't see the benefit in it unless they were trying to throw JT a bone at Vinny's expense. But yeah, I didn't like it, and I'm very happy that she made that very clear.
Well,
as she
it
states.
does add something to the show, and that is it plays into negative stereotypes that exist for Black women, which I
Yeah.
alluded to my disappointment
Mhm.
of it on Friday's podcast of why would you do this knowing you're the only Black person on the cast?
Yeah.
And no, it's not fair because you don't get to move in the same way as your white castmates get to, but such is being a Black woman in America.
Mhm.
We don't get to do things the same way. And especially on a reality television show where you give up all control of how you are portrayed to this very white audience. So I was critical of that she would make that decision knowing that that's the burden that we walk through this society with. But to know that she didn't. And then Haymaker East, I'm looking up the production company now, did that.
Mhm.
Shame on you. I don't know if Bravo was privy to the change around. I'll
Mhm.
say shame on Bravo. I don't know how the production notes work. As the network that distributes it, I don't know if they were presented to it this way and that's
Yeah.
how they saw it. It's easy to say Bravo because that's what we're watching it on, but you got to call out the production company, which is Haymaker East. Shame on you as a broadcasting and media production company who also produces Hamptons and Southern Charm Savannah. You played into a very negative stereotype of Black women that we still in 2025 have to fight against.
Mhm.
You subjected Venita to immense backlash, not just from fans, but from other Black women who were
Mhm.
disappointed in the representation of the show.
Mhm.
That is disgusting. I hate that the reunion has already been filmed. I don't know if she was able to
Yeah.
address it at that point. I hope somebody from Watch What Happens Live is watching this. I hope that you allow me to come on. I'm about to make up some shit that I can promote just so I can come on because I constantly get asked about, because I've been outspoken about The Bachelor and how they've handled certain situations and are insensitive to certain things that deal with people of color. I
Mhm.
get asked that all the time about Bravo. And for the most part, I try to say, I see them being a little bit more proactive than I have with
Other-
NZK, the
yeah.
production company at The Bachelor. That is not the case for what I see right here.
Yeah.
And I'm highly, as a fan, as a super fan who makes a living off of this, I just have to say, and I'm sorry that I'm being long-winded, I am highly upset and disappointed in this representation. And I apologize to Venita. Of course I can say, oh, I didn't know.
Well-
Doesn't matter. I put it out there and I perpetuated a lie that was created and cultivated by Haymaker East. And I apologize for that. And if I get the opportunity on a Bravo platform, I do want to address this
Mhm.
for, Andy will even say, like, how can we be better? What do you think we're doing? I think I've talked about this on Watch What Happens Live. This ain't it.
No, it's not. And I 100,000% with everything that you say. And I do hope that it gets shown at the reunion at the very discussed, because not everyone follows Venita on Instagram or I think I initially first saw it on Queens of Bravo. So
Yeah.
not everyone is up to speed
That's where I
with
saw it.
what people are posting online as it happens. So hopefully they address it on the reunion, because otherwise most viewers are going to see it as it was initially meant to be seen.
Yeah.
And so if they don't give her that, I think it's incredibly unfair and disrespectful. And to your point, like them not doing better, it's just disappointing because it didn't move the story along in any type of way.
Yeah.
And I think it would have made more sense to me and to most viewers had we known that this dinner happened after the Bahamas trip, because it then would have okay, now I understand why Venita's still taking up for him, why she feels bad that he's being attacked at this dinner table, all this stuff, because she still has feelings for him. She thinks he's into her, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, it just would have been more clear. But then for them to do it in the reverse order, it just makes her look like a fool.
And I don't
like,
trust shit from Southern Charm at the moment, right? Like, I don't trust anything. We know that coming up this week, she's reading text messages from JT. What's the timeline?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, I understand that storylines get exaggerated and maybe you leave out a girl's outing that the friends all get along. That's kind of stuff like, yeah, I'd like to see it, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But to do something that's disparaging to your only Black castmate is very upsetting. Madison can call herself a retired hoe and it's funny and we laugh about it.
Yeah.
Taylor can make out with another person's best friend and, or sleep around or whatever it may be, but the guys are still taking up for her and protecting her like she's this precious little cherub. Venita doesn't get that kind of protection.
Yeah.
And it's extremely disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to your point, it discredits anything that we're going to see from the rest of this point on in the season.
I got more names. Aaron Rothman is the CEO and sole owner of Haymaker East. What the fuck? Josh Halpert is the head of production. Jessica Chesler is the head of current, whatever that means. And Jesse Light is the head of development. All of y'all, shame on you for green lighting this, because Bravo's going to get most of the blame. Haymaker East. And that's AI Google telling me that. So if that's wrong, sorry.
Their LinkedIn's better changed by now.
I'm not doing a thorough research, but fuck it. Y'all didn't do it for Venita
either. Yes. Well, I hope she gets her day to shine. Has she been on Watch What Happens this season? Maybe she will have a chance to say something on Watch What Happens. I don't think I've seen her this season on to talk about anything. So I hope she gets her day in Bravo Court.
I hope she does too. I don't know, because I don't watch it all the time. So I don't know if she has either.
I don't think she did.
But she better not be punished either for putting this out there.
Oh, no. I mean, the whole cast has been displaying, I mean, you mentioned it, the tea parties and the all cast events. And like, they've been outing the production company all season. So she gets in trouble for outing them for like a really fucked up thing that they did. Like, yeah, she 100% shouldn't be getting in trouble for it. But it definitely, it paints her in a bad light. It painted her in a bad light. And it just needed to be said. It wasn't fair.
No, it wasn't at all. And I don't want them to get, I don't want us to just brush past it just for the deeper implications that it has towards Venita or any other person of color that is on reality TV. You wonder why people don't trust it and want to be a part of it. This is the reason. And the very good point that you made. For what? What?
It didn't move the story forward.
For what? Now I'm worked up. The last thing really in the news of the week is something that had nothing to do with the production company or the network distributing the show. This was done all by the doings of the cast member, and that is Stacey from Real Housewives of Potomac. We had been teased for weeks that there's this phone call between Eddie, the husband of Wendy Osefo, and TJ, the boyfriend / best friend of Stacey. Stacey comes to the reunion. Stacey lets us know that they are no longer together, and she did not invite him to be a part of the reunion. Eddie is friends with TJ, reaches out to TJ on FaceTime with a camera. TJ's driving, they're talking. He's like, seems upset, kind of bothered that he wasn't invited, but then is like, forget this show. The show is fake. The people are fake, and reveals to Eddie, which is what we've been waiting for, that Stacey paid him to be on the show. And when that information is revealed, the women are not watching it. They are being told this by way of Wendy, who learned from it via text message through Eddie. Stacey adamantly denies it. And she's like, I need to see it. So eventually there's all this back and forth. They're like, girl, he said it. Eddie comes out and tells her he said it. She still is like, I got to see it. They end up showing it to her on a phone
Which
because it
is,
happened
like,
in real time.
iconic. Like, this is the first time we've seen, like, an actual, like,
Breaking
in
the
real
fourth wall,
time
yeah.
playback. Yeah.
Yeah, and they still show it to her, and then she's like, "I'm in shock. I don't know why he'd say that. He's obviously upset that I broke up with him. He's, bitter about the situation." She says it didn't happen. The women do not believe her. A lot of back and forth. I went through a deep dive to see if TJ was going to say anything
Mhm.
because Andy kept saying, "Well, if he has receipts of you paying him, he's going to put them out there." TJ's been mum on it.
Mhm.
Didn't see any receipts coming from anybody else, maybe that's associated with the situation. But we know all season the women were picking at Stacey for this weird relationship that she had with TJ.
Yes.
So TJ making this comment plays into the belief that the women had. You saw this whole back and forth. Do you believe TJ or do you believe Stacey?
I believe Stacey because if I hired a man to be my boyfriend on national television, he better treat me like a fucking queen. And this man was so rude to her. And like he did not fulfill his jobs properly.
Yeah.
He did not open the door for me. He did not buy me flowers. He did not say how beautiful I was all the time on camera. Like that's not what I paid for. So if I paid for him to do that, then yeah, he didn't get the rest of his money because he was not a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
So no, like who would pay a man to be their boyfriend on camera and then
Yeah.
just like treat them like shit?
Yeah.
Like who does that?
Yeah. Stacey does seem very put together and calculated in everything she says.
Yeah.
It's almost tough to watch because you can see her processing it before she says it. What I think is that she didn't pay him. I too believe Stacey. What I do think, though, is that I do think he's bitter. I do
Mhm.
think he hates the way that he came across. People alluded to his sexuality. They talked about how he didn't have a job. They talked about his hair, his actions. He had it rough, and I was one of those people. But not a sexuality, because I don't do that. But I try not to do that. But I believe all of that. But what I think she did tell him is he's an actor. I do think that she probably was like, maybe I'll get your flight, or this could be a good opportunity for you. Just come on, be my best friend. We don't have to be any intimate in any way, but I'm going through this divorce, but you're my best friend and we've known each other for years. And I think that this could give you good exposure. A lot of women watch the show and maybe this could help grow your audience or get you a different role.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think that there was a barter for services.
Okay.
You come be my best friend, and in turn, you get eyes, a new audience watching you. Maybe your followers go up, that. And it did not turn out well for TJ.
Well, he seems like an idiot then if that was the deal. Like,
That's
wouldn't
what
you
I
just
think.
like be a gem of a person if you're like going on national television
I mean,
to an audience of women? Like, wouldn't you just like
at this age, one, you can't help kind of who you are.
Yeah, I guess so.
And two, he's probably blind
Yeah.
to how he comes across. I mean, when you see yourself on camera, we see it happen all the time with people on these shows. They see themselves and they're like, whoa, I act like that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to stereotype him. He's got light eyes, light skin,
Not the light skin.
manufactured hair. And I think he's been told how attractive he probably was his whole life
Yeah.
and just really has been drinking his own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And probably, this is all speculation, but if I am correct, probably thought, yeah, all these women will soak me up. Maybe I'll be like an Eddie. Maybe I'll be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it failed.
That
And
does
think about it. A man who would agree to that and come on the show would probably be like a TJ.
Yeah. What I don't understand is how quickly the women jumped to, yep, you paid him. Like all season long, they didn't really care for this man.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he says that this is what happened. And they're like, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, that part to me is like, do you really hate her that much that you're just going to believe whatever this
Yeah.
man spews?
Yeah. I get it. It's fun to believe it.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll have reflection and take it back. But
Yeah.
in the moment, it was fun for everybody to be like, oh my God, this is crazy. And Stacey didn't do herself any favors. She was like, I don't believe he'd say that. I have to see it. That's how she talks. I have to see it to determine if it is real. And Then they're like, okay, well, Eddie said it. Eddie, Wendy, I know that is your husband, and out of that I have respect. But that's how she talks. That's how she talks. But it's like she didn't help the situation. And she was so not willing to say. She should have just been like, guys, he's bitter. He's willing to say anything.
Yeah.
But her fighting it made it more believable.
Yeah. I think something else, I mean, this is more of the behind the curtain, that she would have had to be the one to invite him on the show. Like, I thought Bravo was the one to do the outreach. So, like, I'm surprised he wasn't there. If, like, so she had final say if he got to come or not?
I would hope to think so, right?
Yeah,
because
I mean,
if that's the case, then we'd always get the significant other that comes. You know, on Southern Charm, we would have got the two girls that were with Austin in the room, and he was saying, Madison.
That would have been great.
You know? So I think they have to have some kind of gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And I approve of that. But who knows? Maybe they'll change it up.
Maybe by the time you guys record.
And that's the other thing. They kept saying, call TJ and clear it up. And she wouldn't.
Would you play into it at that point?
If I knew for a fact I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
I would call. And then I'd say, how much did I pay you? Where did I pay you? How did I pay you?
Yeah.
Well, then there should be a receipt of that. Show it.
Yeah.
Like if I knew I absolutely didn't, and for her, she probably was just like, he's down and dirty. Who knows what other lies he'll tell. But I would be, but again, we're different. Like I'm confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately would have been like, oh, you're about to tell me where these receipts are because you can't. Because it's a lie. And but that's me. That's me. Okay. We're going to dive, and I feel like we do this. You know, now that this is like a new version of Morally Corrupt, I feel like we're playing around with things here.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to figure out what you guys like, what you guys want, because it's not always going to be a news-heavy week. I mean, we can go on and on and on about these topics, but we also want to preserve some things for the Friday show. That's why there are two now. They're separate. So we're going to introduce a new segment here that Chelsea is going to take over, and it is called Chelsea Explains.
Yes. So we thought to do this because for a few reasons. We got a great rage text from Kyle last week.
Oh, yes. I was like, from a listener?
Oh, no. They love us. A great rage text from Kyle to Paige last week that was in reference to things that Hannah Berner and her then boyfriend, Craig Conover, had done to Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And it dawned on some of us, some may not know who Hannah Berner is. If you just jumped into Summer House, say season 6 or 7, whatever, 8, you don't know who Hannah is. And Summer House has done a really good job of making sure you don't. Like when we saw Hannah, when we saw the Giggly Squad poster in last week's episode, it was almost a jump scare. I was like, wow, we're showing her. And it was like an admission that she does exist in this world. So, and it also happened so long ago that we just thought it'd be nice for like a little refresher as to why Kyle hates Hannah. And maybe we'll do a Spritz Craig one when Craig comes onto the season last week, because I'm also very versed in that drama.
Okay. Can I just say I did not realize that Hannah was on season 3 and that this happened 6 years ago. Like, I'm
insane.
Floored that it's been that long.
Yeah.
But
it is nuts. Because it does feel kind of just like yesterday. Like Summer House has all kind of just been compacted. But yes, so Paige and Hannah joined Summer House back in 2019 for season 3. And they kind of joined together. They both worked for the same media company. I don't know how friendly they were before the show, but they were like glued in best friends because they joined the house as a duo. Kyle always never really cared for Hannah. Hannah, Paige, and Amanda kind of vibe together because also back in season 3 is when Kyle sent that like 17-page email about how mean the girls were to Amanda. So Amanda really clinged on to Hannah and Paige as like younger, new women in the house. So in the beginning of season 4, this is when Kyle coined the term Giggly Squad. So this was when Kyle and Amanda were engaged. They were planning the wedding. And as many of you know, I mean, every season, Kyle and Amanda have always been fighting, but the fighting had been intensified due to the wedding planning. And he was trying to explain that to the table at dinner. And Amanda and Hannah, or I'm sorry, Hannah and Paige were at the end of the table, kind of giggling to themselves, having a side conversation of how pathetic Kyle sounds, like trying to explain the stresses of wedding planning. And Kyle gets really upset and he was like, I don't know what's going on with the Giggly Squad at the end of the table or whatever. And as most Bravo Lebs do, they take a moment to turn a negative into a positive, and that is their podcast name.
You know he
Giggly
hates
Squad.
this.
Oh,
Hates
has to. Has to. And then their feud really intensified, I'd say season 5, which was the COVID season, which honestly, any friendship is doomed to end because of COVID. And Summer House, as we know, they come in for the weekend and then they leave. But because of the COVID season and the COVID of it all, they kind of were like real world roommates for the entire summer. There was no leaving and going. They were all together.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when things kind of started to deteriorate deeply with Kyle and Hannah. Hannah did not think that Kyle was a good spouse to Amanda, which most of us don't think that. But she verbalized it to him. She also, you know, Paige and Hannah were notoriously like known to just lay in bed and not help out around the house. And Paige got away with it. Hannah did not, primarily because Kyle hates her. So there was a big blowout fight. This is also when she started to date her then boyfriend, now husband, Des. Brings him to the house. And to me, this is like, I find this to be unforgivable. Like, if we're beefing and you have sex in my bathroom, like, we're not friends anymore.
I honestly forgot that happened.
Like, I thought that was the most disgusting thing ever. I was like, if I hate you and you do that on my counter, like, no.
The bed would be unforgivable.
Where I wash my face?
I mean, it's not like they did it on the towels.
We don't know that. We do not know that.
It's not cool.
It's not. And so that happened. And Kyle had a huge breakdown. The reunion of season 5 was all cast versus Hannah, going hard at her. And even though Paige and Hannah were really good friends at that time, and still are, Paige didn't speak up that much in defense of Hannah. And I think because she knew she was in a tough spot, because she's friends with Amanda and she's friends with Hannah, and it's hard to play in the middle in that.
Right.
But a lot of stuff happened off camera, which is where I think most of this drama lives. As we all know, Loverboy is Kyle's cherished child and brand of canned seltzers, or canned alcohol, whichever. And what I don't think many understand is when you have the type of product placement that Kyle has on Summer House, like, it is great brand exposure.
Yeah.
He has his entire cast drinking it and talking about how great it is. Whenever there's a new flavor, they talk about it. That's free advertisement. He's not paying his cast members for this. He's not giving them any type of compensation for like back pay for anything. They could go and do any type of brand deal with a liquor company and get paid thousands of dollars. They do this for Loverboy for free. And Hannah got an opportunity back in the day from Truly to do a paid ad on her Instagram. So she did. Go ahead.
Oh, you're about to answer my question.
While in the Summer House of that season, of season 5. Kyle did not like that. And to be fair, Hannah had every right to do a paid advertisement. She has no contract with Loverboy. She has no allegiance to this brand whatsoever. And honey needs to get paid. She didn't have Giggly Squad wasn't doing the 30, city tour at this point.
Yeah.
So she had every right to get paid. So many believe, and Hannah believes, that this is when things really started to turn for her, and Kyle really went after her and but targeted her from not coming back for the following season. I have to say, I'm not a Hannah fan. So her not returning season 6 didn't bother me. she did anger me again. The bathroom thing, like, really is. I
Really?
write you off. So it didn't bother me that she didn't return, and I didn't know the truly drama at the time. But now knowing this in hindsight, I could see where she feels like Kyle like pushed her off the show. I thought she didn't return because people hated her, but a lot of people hate a lot of people on
I
Bravo.
loved Hannah.
Oh, really?
Loved her on the show.
Really? Why?
I felt like Hannah, one, I think she's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I always did. And I thought that she called things out as they were. She came in, there was no allegiance to, oh, you've been here longer, you've been in the house. She wasn't trying to play those games. She
Yeah.
wasn't fitting in with the status quo. And I liked that drama and that pushback. And nobody really stands up to Kyle. They might have a tiff or a fight. I mean, we're seeing Paige do that this season.
Mm-hmm.
But that was Hannah.
Yeah.
Hannah's like, wait, this is bullshit. Like, and she would speak directly to who Kyle was, which was worse back then because that was the drama with Amanda.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't do it this way just to protect my friend, but she was very vocal about
The relationship.
wanting better for her friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I was down for that.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated what Hannah brought to the show, and I love her as a person. And like,
maybe
I'm geeked. Anytime I run into Hannah in these streets, I'm like, hey girl, I really like Hannah.
Okay, I really trust you, so maybe I'll take a look back and rewatch.
Yeah.
Because I didn't take to her as much as I took to when Paige I loved immediately. Hannah took a while to warm up. The Luke drama was weird to me too. And I think I love Amanda, so I think like I got annoyed, and I'm very much of the mindset of you tell your friend once if you think
I agree.
if you think the man they're with is scum, and then you said your piece, you lock it up, you throw away the key, and then you support them. And so I just felt like she kind of kept like going at it because she hated Kyle so much,
I agree.
and didn't love Amanda more than that or something. I don't know. But
yeah, she got lasered in on the Kyle of it all,
Yeah.
and Amanda became collateral damage in
Yeah.
that. And I think that is why Paige did not take up, because Paige could see it,
mm-hmm,
Hannah couldn't.
mm-hmm.
But I liked her energy.
Well, that her energy, fast forward 2019 to 2024, is where she was on the BFFs pod back in July, and Dave Portnoy asked her,
Who sucks, by the way.
another sucky person, who asked her, he sucks, but he did give us this collateral, or this, he lit the flame to the RHOBH text, asked her about the Truly incident, and if that was truly what got Kyle, or what got her off the show. And she says yes. She explains that is the source of Kyle's anger towards her, and that he like really went after her behind the scenes. His ego played into it. It led to people, castmates, telling her that they didn't want her in the friend group any longer. Ultimately, that was also the Luke of it all too. So I think Lindsay was on Luke's side. Danielle was on Luke's side. Who else was in the house at that time? Sierra and Hannah they became friends after the Luke of it all too. But I think part of it had to do with Kyle. I think another part of it had to do with people just not really vibing with how she ended season 5. But that's what sparked the RHOBH text. And that's what really angered Kyle. The incident with Craig and Sprit Society Loverboy happened in May. This happened in July, and this is what really tweaked him. So I'm curious. Actually, it feels like Kyle is back to defending Paige amongst like the Craig and Paige breakup of it all. So it seems like maybe they've made it to a good place, or maybe it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend now, because Paige no longer is with Craig, so he's like all for it. But yeah, that's the backstory of Hannah, Kyle, Paige, Amanda. And for all of you that did not know this history and lore before, that's where we are today. And now Giggly Squad is one of the most popular podcasts
Yeah, it is.
in the world. And they were just hosting the Vanity Fair red carpet, looking gorgeous. So good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, first off, well done, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Great very, very thorough, which is what we do here, or
Thank
at least
you.
what Chelsea does here on Ringer Reality TV. It is easy because we watch and consume this stuff so much that we forget dropping a name or making a reference about a situation. Some people have just started from jumped in,
Mhm.
which you could jump in right now into Summer House and really kind of be okay. But I suggest you go back and watch from the beginning.
Yeah. And
Um,
shout out to Belle, producer Belle, who helped with that outline and
Shout
the
out to
and the and
Belle.
the notes. But also just to like really set it in for those who don't remember or who are just now new viewers, Hannah was canceled after season 5. Like people hated her. Like she got a lot of hate and a lot of backlash. And I will say I give her huge credit for being able to turn around that narrative and to have a Netflix stand-up comedy special, to be with Paige and have one of the best podcasts in the country, to be hosting the Vanity Fair red carpet. Like her star really turned around, and she didn't take, the vitriol of Bravo fans and let
Yeah.
it like bury her. She really came out on top. So even though I don't personally giggly squatters, gigglers, whatever they call themselves, don't come for me. Even though I don't personally like find her that funny, like I think it's amazing what she's been able to do
Yeah.
with her platform and how she was able to turn public opinion back into her favor, and not just on a surface level thing, but by like her career and
Yeah.
making like really like good business and career
Yeah.
decisions.
I agree. And it made me think of maybe not going into just the Craig drink thing. I think that something we reference a lot as we cover Southern Charm, and you touched on it when you talk about Hannah and Paige, is I think I love what you said about what Hannah's been able to do for her career, and whether you like her or not, it's a testament to like, if you know you're talented, if you know you have it, keep working at your craft, and you
Mhm.
never know what it could be. I mean, now she was canceled 6 years ago, and now she's hosting the hottest Oscars like people
Yeah.
want to be at the Vanity Fair
And like
party.
interviewing the
It's
best like celebrities in the world.
Yeah, it's so they've really built something, and with Giggly Squad and doing the tour, and like it's hard to do. And they've done it. But I think it also speaks to who Paige was in
Mhm.
2019 versus who Paige is in 2025. I mean, she's alluded to it on this season of Southern Charm, of how she's like, to be fair to Craig, I'm different. And we've
Mhm.
talked about that before. So I think a deep dive into who Paige was when she first came on
Mhm.
to Southern Charm and what she wanted for herself versus who she is now
Mhm.
would be really interesting to understand the breakup.
The evolution of Paige
Mhm.
DeSorbo.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she's always been such a girl's girl.
Yes.
And I did start watching season 3 like recently. I like watched like the first couple of episodes, and she was talking about like you date and then marriage and whatnot. And like now to see how her priorities have shifted in that way, and like her talking to Lindsay about freezing her eggs and stuff like that. Like family does seem like it's still something that's of importance to her, but like she hasn't,
Yeah.
with all of her success, she still hasn't reached where she wants to be professionally before she starts that next chapter in her
Mhm.
life. And I think that that is something that, is really admirable and respectful for like young women and young Bravo viewers to see, especially because it is hard to think like, you can have it all or maybe you can't. Like
Yeah.
what does having it all mean to you? And
Yeah.
like we're seeing how Paige is navigating through that right now. And I find it to be really like inspiring. And yeah, and I know like people are mad. I got some like angry like you stood up for Craig too much messages. I do like Craig. I don't know how to take that. I Paige made Craig likable. She made him more digestible. And I think in liking Paige, I in extension liked Craig.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I do
That's
like
fair.
Paige. I do think she made the best decision for the both of them by breaking up with him. I think they should have done it 6 months to a year ago, but whatever. Get your whatever.
They're there now.
Yeah,
They
they're
found
there
their
now.
way. At
They
least they didn't
found
go down the altar.
Yes, exactly. So I'm happy that they're separated. I hope that they do great things individually. And yeah, and I think it's been great to see, it's really unique that we get to see the deterioration of their relationship from both POVs on their shows.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
How lucky are we?
I know, right? What a time. What a time. What a Bravo time. Okay, I love this new segment. I think we need to do more of it. That's it for us here on Morally Corrupt. You guys, don't worry. We've got more coming up this week. Friday, you can join us for the recaps of everything that's going on. Don't forget, we are now on Spotify's video on platform, which means you can listen and watch us, which is really, really exciting. Something to add to what we're doing here. And I'm sure we'll have more announcements in the future. Guys, have a beautiful week. We will see you same time, same place next Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.